Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Northwest UFO Chasers radio broadcast. This will be part 13, and I am going to bring you some prophetic messages by writer, author, researcher, producer, Gregory M. Voles. Hello, everybody. This is Gregory M. Voles, and we are up here in the Great Northwest. I don't know about you, but I'm having a lot of trouble with what's going on in the world today and these wars. And the message that I'm receiving from who I have been terming the Nordic alien intelligence has become more and more clear to me as I begin to understand, and the vision of prophecy is being delivered to me and is being unveiled. But it turns out that there are 4 entities, human beings, and they have their own advanced technologies. There are beings from ancient cultures and civilizations that have lived on the earth a long time, as in referencing the Atlanteans and the Lemurians and the island of High Brazil. And they have advanced technologies. And then there's the alien intelligence and the multiple species of intelligent life. But one that seems to be wanting to communicate with me is a very benevolent and loving alien intelligence. And I have termed them again, like I said, the Nordic alien intelligence. And what the Nordic alien intelligence has told me, again, is about these levels. The human beings, the advanced cultures and civilizational human beings, the alien intelligences, and then there are the angels. And the angels are from God, and there's specific names, and I'm going to name a few of the angels and tell you why I believe this and what this prophetic message has been. What is going on is that my name is Gregory, and I was reading the books of Enoch and the chapters of the Watchers, and I'm going to read you this, and I want you to see the Watchers from the Greek, Gregoroi, or Grigori, are a group of fallen angels told of in a biblical apocrypha who mated with human females, giving rise to a race of hybrids known as the Nephilim. The Watchers appear in biblical apocrypha and the first and second books of Enoch and Jubilees. The word Grigori derives from the Slavonic second book of Enoch. Now, the message that came to me was one where I had been studying, and I talked about this before, genetics and the work of Dr. Spencer Wells from Stanford University, and the transitionary paths of human beings, us, all over the planet. And he substantiated Dr. Leakey's theories about man leaving out of Africa and heading to the southern tip of Africa and then following the coastal line up and over to India. And then there was a branch, 2 different directions, one over toward Australia and one straight north to the Asian trade routes, and then they split again. They went right over through Kazakhstan and up over the Bering Land Bridge and through North America, down through Central America and down into South America. But back over in Asia on that middle trade route, they also went left and into the caves of Fumini, Italy, and that was Cro-Magnon. And all Northern Europeans are related through genetic markers. So we relatively know and can pinpoint in time our ancestry. But what becomes critical here is the understanding of taking time backwards in my timeline. And as I began to put everything on the timeline, I began to see that the stories actually started to make sense to me. That the Big Bang and something occurred and there was a God. And of course, the formulation of the what I call the third dimensional illusory reality. But through the substantiation of quantum physics and mathematics, it began to show us through astrophysics and quantum physics that there was multidimensionality in the substantiation of superstring theory. And there was 11 dimensions, but the sacred number seems to be 12. So I wrote an article that said God is beyond the 11th dimension. But the really exciting part came when I began to understand that there were these seraphim angels of God. And the next step was I began to research. I was interested in crop circles. And there's this crop circles that are forming all over the earth. I mean, there's just way too many of these crop circles for anybody to be hoaxing them. And they're appearing in such elaborate, sacred, geometric formulation that these are messages that are being delivered. Now, I also researched out, and you can do the same, the name Metatron, which in some stories that are either in the Bible or the Nag Hammadi or the books of Enoch, tell after the formulation of the earth, Metatron was put here for man. But then the stories kind of jump, and then they go into this. There was, again, getting back to the Watchers and the fallen angels. So there must have been some sort of a scenario by which these powerful angels of God, and they loved God, and they would normally sing the glorification of God, found the women of the earth to be highly desirable, and they lusted after the women, and it took them away from God, and that's why they are termed fallen. But more than that, getting back to the genetics, the prophetic message that I was receiving is that we are all genetically related by a long lineage back to these angels. And we all have pieces and parts in us, even if they're very remote, of these angels of God. And I actually have found the proof. But what happened was, I will tell you of what the proof is here shortly, but I want to talk about the name Melchizedek. And what happened there was I was doing some research, and I was trying to learn about the Nordic alien intelligence and some of the messages that they were giving me. And as you know, they took me at one point and they modified my DNA switch sets, and they gave me the capability of receiving messages from them telepathically. So they flood my mind or my brain with these pictures. And then what happens is they embed into my memoric cortex regions. But sometimes I feel like they're behind me and I can hear them talking and saying things, and then they flood my mind. And so there's all this craziness going on. But specifically, what happened is that I found Drunvalo Melchizedek. And Drunvalo just seemed like every inch of my body started to tingle with intuition. And I knew that I was on to something. And then, of course, I was stressing out and needing meditation in order to just bear with, as I said, the world today and what's happening, and as we're moving forward, was just so, it just hurts because I'm extremely empathic and feeling the pain of the people. And the Nordic alien intelligence was coming to me saying, why are you so worried? These are just bodies, and you will be reincarnated into another vessel when you die. And I didn't know if I believed that. And then at that point, they led me to several different videos, two specifically. One was called the Mankla video, and it talks about a man who was in the Air Force in 1953, who then comes back. They chase after a UFO, they crash into it, two airmen together, and then basically alien intelligence gives him two choices. He either is going to go with them, or he can be reincarnated back into another body. And he has these visions of them putting him in a tub of liquid, and he ultimately falls asleep, and when he wakes up, he's in the body of a newborn, and as he grows, he doesn't have full retention or memory recall, but things start to come back to him. And they allowed him to have the proof of two names that were on top of the soldiers' lapels, and those were in a box that his mother had. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and I'll be right back after the break. Hey, thanks for sticking with me after the break here. I really appreciate it. The world, this message is extremely important. Although the message, they're trying to keep me from delivering this message to the world at large. And again, I left off with these Mankla videos of reincarnation. And I'm going to let you go ahead and research those out. And there's another one by a news agency on another reincarnation event. But that is not the message that I'm trying to get to. The message that I'm trying to get to gets to, again, these angels of God and the seraphim and the fallen. There, in the Nag Hammadi, is a chapter called Melchizedek. And it's a story, as when you read it, and the problem is when they uncovered this book, it was in such bad shape that there are parts that are missing. And so in and amongst the story, and I'm going to read parts of it. I may just go ahead and read the whole thing here. It'll say 2 lines unrecoverable, but there's pieces in there that are not there. So bear with me. But what I want to do is I'll give you my interpretation of it, and then I'll read it. In there, ultimately, it talks of it names the seraphim angels of God, which kind of something flashed in my mind telepathically was 12. And again, this isn't New Age for me, okay? But I know a lot of people will think it's New Age. But again, I'm just trying to make sense of all of it. But there's 12 signs in astrology, and they represent the star systems. And of course, uh, there's the age of the ram, and there's the age of Leo the lion, and there's the age of Sagittarius, and there's these ages, and they talk about the precessional rotation of the earth and the 26,000-year cycle. And of course, the rise and fall of advanced cultures and civilizations over that time period. And of course, this all plays into, Nibiru and its great elliptical orbit and the potential possibility of intelligent beings coming to the planet Earth. But getting back to the seraphim angels, I discovered that there was a pact between them and God of not unveiling to humans the true nature of everything that is going on. And it gets to the bottom, and let's go through some of this and just see where it starts out, and it really plays into Christianity. And let me preface this part. I want to say that I'm getting a clear indication and a message that Buddha, Ramakrishna, Jesus, Muhammad covers all humans on the earth currently today. In the Chinese region, it's Buddhist up into India, and then from India and Tibet on over, we have both Buddhist and then into Hinduism, Ramakrishna, and that encompasses all of India. And then as we come across, of course, we've had these huge wars between the Arab, what we know of today to be the Arab states, and which are, Muslim, and Muhammad and the Quran, and Christianity and Jesus Christ, which flows through Northern Europe and into the United States and down through South America. So basically, but again, the message that the Lord is giving me through prophecy is that we must all get along. Now, what I want to say is that, so in that regard, it talks about Jesus Christ in here in these texts, and it says, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, from the eons, that I might tell of the eons, and in each one of the eons, that I might tell of the nature of the eon that is, and that I might put on friendship and goodness as a garment, O brother. And then it goes on, and it proclaims, death will tremble and be angry, not only by himself, but also his fellow world-ruling archons, and the principalities and the authorities, the female gods and the male gods, together with the archangels. And it goes on to say, all of them, the world rulers, all of them, all of them, all of them. And it seems as though Melchizedek was in prayer to God, and he was getting visions, prophetic visions, as I'm receiving now, and his interpretation was fairly interesting. But it says, but all the tribes and all the peoples will speak the truth, who are receiving from you yourself, O Melchizedek. And there was this pact between Melchizedek and God going on here. And it says, O Holy One, High Priest, the perfect hope, the gifts of life, am Gamaliel. And I'm having a hard time pronouncing that, but who was sent to the congregation of Seth, who above the eons, and it goes on, and it names, it says, O glorious one, Jesus Christ. And then the commanders of the luminaries, You powers. And then it says Armozel, Ariel, Davieth, Eleth, and you man of light, immortal Eon, Pegera, Adamus, and the good God of the beneficent worlds. And in my mind, what I'm beginning to see is he's talking of the angels of God. And they are specifically the ones that found the mortal women very desirable. And he's talking of this pact and the creation and the advancement of what they're going to be. And then I'm going to jump down here. It says, for when they pray for the offspring of the archons, and all the angels together with the seed flowed forth from the Father of the all, the entire. There were engendered the gods and the angels and the men out of the seed, all the natures, those in the heavens and those upon the earth, and those under the earth, nature of females, among those that are in the, they were bound with, but this is not true Adam nor true Eve. For when they ate of the tree of knowledge, they trampled the cherubim, which again references a level of angel of God, and the seraphim with the flaming sword, they which was Adam, the world rulers, and them out after they had brought forth offspring of the archons and the worldly things. What they're saying here is, through these relations of human beings on earth had relations with the angels, and they're talking about that, and they're talking about their offspring, which is us. And the females and males, those who exist, hidden from every nature, and they will renounce the archons who receive him, for they are worthy of immortal and great and great and great sons of men, disciples, image from the light, which is holy. But I will be silent, for we are the brethren who came down from the living. They will upon of Adam, Abel, Enoch, Noah, and you, Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High. But see, Melchizedek, he was Most High, so because he carried the message of what really transpired between the creation of God and what happened on earth and all of mankind. And this is the part of the story. And if you look at my timeline, you begin to see, there's, it just, it begins to make sense. These gaps that go back 4.55 billion years and 4.55 million years and then 40,000 years. So what I'm trying to say is if we go back through genetics, we can account for 40,000 to 4.55 million through Dr. Spencer Wells' research. And then from 4.5 million back to 4.55 billion, we have stories that are handed down through ancient cultures and civilizations to tell us. And again, these stories get radicalized, and they talk about angels mating with humans and having giants, and then the Lord came down and wiped out the giants on the earth with a great flood, is the typical biblical story. And of course, what we're looking at and trying to wrestle with is like the ruins of Pumapunku and Tiwanaku and these 200-ton blocks on the Altiplano of Bolivia, Chile. How did they get there? How come they're so perfect? We can't take modern machinery down there and lift these blocks and put them in place with that perfection and precision today. So what I'm saying is either the continents have shifted, the polar caps have shifted, there's been some cataclysmic events. Again, we also have Baalbek in Israel. We have the Great Pyramids. But let me get back to this story of Melchizedek. So these things which I was commanded to reveal, these things reveal as I have done, but that which is hidden do not reveal to anyone unless it is revealed to you. And that is what I'm saying. This has been revealed to me. But I know some will get the message and some won't. I'm not saying I have all of the answers. I'm not telling you something of the future and prophecy to a certain extent. I'm not like all those prophets. What I'm saying is I'm just trying to wrestle with, trying to communicate through the English language and articulate the best I can and get it to the people that want to hear, that want to listen. Because what's coming is what has been termed the fourth dimensional awakening, which I believe that if we look at the souls or the light-bodied essences of man, and I call that all of us that are alive with this light inside, and that includes every living thing, are in this distributed cloud of collective consciousness. And then Buddha talks about that. But you move up through transcendence toward God. And again, the Nordic alien intelligence has told me that we are just within the third dimension of illusory reality, and I'll explain what I mean by illusory here shortly. Well, I'll just tell you. In this creation story, we were embedded with forgetfulness, which was a gift so that we wouldn't remember that we are immortal beings that will be reincarnated. But you must have faith, and as you move in transcendence toward God, and this includes we're moving in time through the third, we will reach a point of a fourth dimensional portal, which is the wormhole that science talks about, and move into the fifth dimension of ethereal reality. But that's not even really close to God. There's still the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th dimensions by which the cherubim and the seraphim angels can descend from God to us with messages, as Metatron is bringing through sacred geometry on the earth. And that video is called The Quest for Truth. Make sure you watch that. But getting back to the story of Melchizedek. And immediately I arose, Melchizedek, and I began, God, that I should rejoice. And I will not cease from now on forever, O Father of the all, because you have had pity on men. And you have sent the angel of light from your eons to reveal. When he came, he caused me to be raised up from ignorance and the fruition of death to life. For I have a name. I am Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High. I know that it is I who am truly the image of the true high priest of God for the world. For it is not a small thing that God and the angels that dwell upon the earth. And at that point, it goes on to talk about the mother of the eons, Barbello, and the firstborn of the eons, Doxamedon. And he seems to be in a chant, holy, 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 in prayer. And he talks about commander of the luminary of eons, Oriel. And again, he's naming seraphim, cherubim, and it would take some research to really identify what class and where and who and what. But this has been kept from everybody, and it needs to come out. Because, a lot of people believe the end of time is 2012. I don't necessarily know if I believe that, but if it occurs, what it's indicating to me is that a huge portion or a body of this distributed cloud of collective consciousness of light is going to transcend through this fourth dimensional portal or wormhole, and we're going to be carried onward, and we're going to be brought into the fifth dimension of ethereal reality where you can manifest anything that you can think in that realm. And that's a whole nother radio show. But getting back to Melchizedek, the priest God Most High, I want to get down in here to the end and read. So it says, men and struck me, you threw me, and you crucified me, and the third hour of the Sabbath. And it's talking about Christ. Until the ninth hour, and after these things I arose from the dead, came out, and into me my eyes saw. And, Christ brought this wonderful, loving message of rebirth through, again, the Holy Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, which has been repeated, believe it or not, in many mythological stories throughout time. And the Zarathustrian Zoroastrians of ancient Sumeria have the same Holy Trinity story, portions and pieces of mythological culture and story about Odin and Thor and Loki, and that new movie that's coming out, Thor. It basically tingles my DNA in communication with the Nordic alien intelligence and gives me relationship to a real individual that existed named Thor on the earth, who was offspring of this angel human hybrid and so again, I hope that I am able to try to get at least a part of this communicated and articulated through the English language to you, because I'm wrestling. Let's get back. So it says, and this is where I'll be finishing this up, with offerings working on that which is good, fasting with fasts, these revelations do not reveal to anyone in the flesh, since they are incorporeal, unless it is revealed to you to do so. And it must be being revealed for me to do so, but I haven't got the complete answer or the complete story. But I do highly suggest you listen to and watch Drunvalo Melchizedek's important message. That's a man with that name on the earth today. And then what happened for me was I was under this tremendous empathic, basically I had a cold and the flu and I didn't feel good. But the main thing that I want to read here is, we're at war today, going against Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bahrain, Tunisia, Syria, Yemen, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Egypt. And what I'm really saying is that encompasses, and there are more countries, Somalia too, that have a tremendous Muhammad Muslim Quran influence and belief system. And these huge crusade battles of Christianity versus the Muslims, they're trying to repeat that now, which is, if you have faith in God, stop. And, just internalize peaceful, conscientious objection to war, period. Jesus talked about that. He said, turn thy other cheek. And we have to really do that, and we have to be all-inclusive with everybody. And here's the thing. So I'm empathic, and I'm feeling this, and it's hurting, and then I realize the message is one of the fourth dimensional awakening of transcendence. In other words, there's a potential possibility for World War III, and this nuclear meltdowns in Japan, and they're now, at first they started, well, there's no radiation, and then there's just some radiation, and now there's radiation in the water at 3,500 times the normal amount, and that water is eventually going to affect the world somehow, some way. And, the missiles that we're going to deliver in theater, from what I understand, through another great video called The Observations on Society, talks about the half-life of uranium in these non-nuclear missiles that is going to ruin any chance of vegetation growing in the region for billion years. So we are really our own demise. We're being manipulated, and that's, again, another subject of the Illuminati, which talks about, the symbolism that David Wilcock references in the tripartite governments. What I'm saying there is you've got the Vatican on ground that is in Rome. You've got the central banks in England on ground under maritime law that is not part of the United Kingdom. And you've got Washington, D.C., that is on ground that's not part of the laws of the United States. That makes a triangle: religious, financial, and military, and they call that a strike head. But if you understand geometry, you need another triangle, and that's where I'm having a problem. But something popped into my head that said, we got these intelligence agencies: Central Intelligence Agency, National Security Agency, and the Department of Naval Intelligence. And it seems like the administration changes depending upon their priorities. And the Pentagon, the 5 stars, if you were to take, that representation that I just made of those two triangles and put them together, you come up with the 5-point star. And then you've got that references the Star of David, which is the son of King Solomon, which that star was on the temple of King Solomon, which was built by the masons of King Solomon, which is the secret knowledge that they passed along through generations and is currently being paraded and symbolized all over the world. And this is the Illuminati and their agenda. And that's evil in nature against benevolency of God through this chapter of Melchizedek. And I hope that some of you have grasped my message. If you believe me, we're in desperate need of funding. You might want to contribute. And this will include potentially helping ESETI and these beings that are coming in translucent orbs at Mount Adams. But specifically what I'm asking for is financial funding for Northwest UFO Chasers to keep this prophetic message alive. And, sometimes I feel like it's not even real, and other times it's so real it's not even funny. I'm going to go ahead and end it at that. God bless. Thank you. I want to mention some very special people. And I'm going to say I love you to some of these people. Well, I love everybody, but what I'm saying is these are special people to me. Lyson, if you're listening. Vivian, if you're listening. Steve and Jorge. Mary and Nancy. I couldn't do what I do today without your support, and I really want to thank you. And so my love goes out to all of you, and I hope to catch up with you in the next radio broadcast. Thank you very much. And this will conclude radio broadcast number 13, brought to you by writer, author, researcher, producer, Gregory M. Voles of Northwest UFO Chasers. God bless you all, my friends.